Jack Dappa Blues Heritage Preservation Foundation is a tax-exempt 501c3 nonprofit private foundation. Your donations, sponsoring, and funding allows us to create content that raises awareness of African American traditional music, African American folklore, and the Black experience. Check the link in the description box to donate. If you wish to sponsor podcasts, documentary series, or underwrite ads in our newspaper, The African American Folklorist, contact the email address in the description box. To open up Women's History Month, today I speak with a brother who's written a powerful comic about a historic woman. David Crownson, the creator and writer of the Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer comic. He's also an actor and filmmaker, and we're about to get right into it without further ado. David, what's happening, my brother?
Hello.
What's going on? What's going on with you?
Hey, man, I'm great like Frosted Flakes.
we got to give you a round of applause on several things, right?
Oh, thank you.
We're going to give it to you twice.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Because, you know, this is a very, very, very powerful comic book and a powerful concept, so to speak, right?
Well, thank you.
We believe in celebrating and giving the roses while you're alive.
Oh, yes, I'll take it.
All right, blues people. So again, we're talking to David Crownson, the writer and creator of Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer comic book. And I was able to meet this brother at the Black Comic-Con at the Schomburg in Harlem, New York. And off the air, he was giving us some very, very pertinent and interesting information. But before we get into that, which is really great, because that's, would you consider that the business of the comic industry, what you were sharing?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
So before we get into that, let's talk about the concept of this comic book, right? Because it's twofold. Right, we have a historical aspect, and then we have a folktale aspect, right? Which a lot of this were taking place at this time in this region, right? Because there were deep spiritual beliefs and conjuring going on. So, what inspired you to do the comic and mesh all these things together?
Yeah, I was, what inspired it was me being on vacation. Like, well, no, I was on like a bit of a weird vision quest thing. I was going through a lot of stuff. I was going through like a lot living in Harlem and was, you know, working like 4 jobs to like pay my rent and try and have a life. And I was just really stressed out and overworked. So my mom was just like, I think she talked to me on the phone and she heard that I was like stressed and always manic. And she said, listen, you know, you're going to come live with us. Like my parents are originally from Ghana, West Africa.
Okay.
And yeah, so they were like, you're going to come live with us for like a couple, like for like maybe a month or 2. We think you need to like meditate, pray, and like relax and like take a break from America and like hustling around.
Right.
So I said, no. And I think I had like, you know, my background is in acting. So I had 3 big auditions and my mom said, if you don't get any of them, like you are taking your break. And I said, all right, fine. And I ended up not getting the job that I auditioned for. I came really close and then it didn't happen. So I gave up my apartment, gave up my jobs, and like put all my stuff like in like a cheap little storage and saved my pennies, and I went to Africa. So, and it was great. I highly recommend that we do this. Everyone, please travel, take a break, go to Ghana, go, like, do something.
Understood.
Yeah, man. And while I was there, there was this Harriet Tubman documentary playing on TV. And Harriet Tubman, her heritage and, like, her background, her family is originally it's traced back to Crown. So Harriet Tubman is celebrated in
Okay.
Yeah, and I didn't know that. So I'm watching this documentary. I forget the name of it, and I start channel surfing, and I ended up bumping into Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and it was like the end of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, where it's Michelle Yeoh fighting Zhang Zi with all those katanas and weapons.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, dope! I love this movie. And then there was more, channel surfing when that ended. And I stumbled upon Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters. And I was really, like, hyped to watch this movie because I thought it was a really cool concept. And, but yeah, I watched the movie. It was trash. It was really bad. Like, no disrespect to the filmmaker because it's hard to make a movie.
It is. But if it's trash, it's trash.
Like, I'm like, this is such a fun, like, concept. Like, come on, make this fun. And, like, you can still be deep if you want. But, like, make this fun. And it was cool just from an aesthetic. It wasn't, like, cool, like, and, like, fun. Like, so I was kind of bad. So later on that night, I was writing in my journal. I was on some Eat, Pray, Love, like the blackmail version. And just, like, writing in my journal, like, about my experience. Because, it was my first time being outside of America for, like, this long.
Okay, understood.
Yeah, and I had been, like, I was in Ghana for 4 months.
Wow, okay.
And... yeah, it was a whole half summer vacation. So I'm just kind of writing in my journal, and it's just like a stream of conscious writing. And these 3 things stood out to me when I was done. Like I looked at the page and I was reading back what I wrote, and the 3 things that stood out were Harriet Tubman, katana fight scene, to the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and Witch Hunters. And I was like, oh, because I documented what I had done for the day. And then I kind of just sat there for a second, and then I was like, Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer. Oh, shit. I almost like you heard something.
It's all right. It's too late.
I was like, oh, shit. Is that Harriet Tubman? What if Harriet Tubman can move around like a ninja, like in new martial arts like they do in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, like that choreography, but she's beating up like a werewolf, and like also like keeping like the same like thing Harriet Tubman as we know and love her, but she just has these abilities, and these things just happen to exist. And like my imagination just kind of kept racing, and I didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't know if it was going to be like a movie or a TV show or a video. I just thought it was like a cool story and interpretation. It was a fun way of telling history. And when I got back, it still didn't dawn on me to make it a comic book, even though like I was in Ghana for 4 months. I packed like all of my comics with me.
Okay.
I think I packed like this was like around the time Miles Morales had just come out.
Right.
And I was a big fan of that comic book series. So I had something like 40 issues of it, and a few other comic books I had packed as well. And I was like, damn, I ain't packing enough books. I'm here for 4 months, because I packed like I was only going to be there for a month, but I was being there for 4 months. Which was a little bit of an accident, because this is when the Ebola outbreak happened.
Oh my goodness.
And like, oh yeah, but like, it was so dumb, because like, it didn't even hit Ghana at all. It was like in the south part of like, of Africa, of the continent of Africa. So, but they were still quarantined and blocking people off. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to extend this vacation and just chill. So,
well, things do happen for a reason.
Oh yeah, man. Like if I had gone back earlier, I probably would have come back with this idea. So, like, I'm grateful that that America was being scared. And thank you, America, for being scared as shit. You helped me with this comic book idea. Yeah, man. Like when I got back into America, I saw a how to write comic books novel in like I think like one of those like gift stores that you see like at the airport, and I said, "Oh, that's it. It's a comic book. I'll make it a comic book." And yeah, and here we are.
Wow.
But yeah, like I read this book by Brian Michael Bendis called Words for Pictures, and you know, he's one of my favorite writers, and he created Miles Morales, and I read that book like, you know, in like one day, and taught myself how to, well, not taught myself, but from the book, you know, learned how to make a comic book script, and wrote like the first issue and outlined it. And then I was trying to find like financing and trying to figure out what the story was going to be, and trying to get the money together to make it happen in the first place, and was struggling for a little bit. And I was like kind of talking to different producers and trying to find financing. And this one guy was financed the whole comic, but you know, he turned out to be a total creep, so it's all good.
Oh no!
Oh yeah, man. I won't say his name, but he was like this creepy kind of older white guy. No offense to white people, but like, one dude was old. He was old and creepy. I'm just saying, like that's what they look like. He happened to be white. And so I was like, I think I just said, like, all right, I mean, I'm gonna take a break. Like, it's been so hard trying to finance this, and I'm scared to go on Kickstarter. You know, let me just take a break and just focus just on acting, and you know, everything's gonna be all right. Like Hillary Clinton's gonna be president. You know, and like everything's gonna be great. We got Wonder Woman coming out and Black Panther. You know, mind you, this is in 2016, by the way. And I'm like, everything's going to be great in 2017. Like, we're not going to need, you know, maybe we don't need this comic right now.
Right. So somewhere down the line, you equated everything being okay with Hillary Clinton being president.
But like, yeah, I understand the energy. Like, so many women were really happy.
That is true. That is true.
But all of my female friends were either like, you know, this is great, or it's like they didn't like her. They're like, you know, it's cool that a woman is going to be president. You know, so there was a lot of that energy. And I was like, all right, cool. We just had Obama, and things are dope and great, you know, and I'm laughing at Trump. I'm like, yo, this dude's stupid. Like, this is never going to happen. Like, why is he here? Like, he doesn't even want to be here. He's just doing this, like, to promote his own, like, TV show or something. Because that's what he said. Like, it was all, like, started to dip into politics for 2 seconds. Like, I remember they asked him, so how are you going to do this when you're president? And he never had a plan. But then they asked him, what are you going to do if you're not president? And he said, oh, I'm going to have a TV channel called Trump TV. And I was like, yeah, that's the hell. Like, he wants to have his own network like Oprah. So I'm like, that was...
Well, I mean, this is a capitalistic society, but continue.
Yeah. So I'm like, damn. So I'm like, all right, Hillary's going to be president, you know, everything's going to be fine, you know. And then everything wasn't fine, and that was a long-ass night. Like, the following morning, like, one of my friends called me, and she had been crying all night because she was really looking, like, forward to this. It was my friend Alex.
Looking forward to a woman president?
Yeah, you know, it was my friend Alex. Okay. My friend Alex called me, she's a black woman. And she just said, like, you know, I was really looking forward to this. And she said, look, and I told her about for some odd reason, I started talking about my comic book.
Trust me, but that's okay. I happen to know it was not a shameless plug, but it was a form of encouragement to a fellow sister that I got you. There's another hero coming. I get it.
Oh, yeah, well, no, it wasn't even like, I wasn't even trying to like, yo, my comic coming out. I just said like, yeah, you know, I think she was asking, like, hey, so, like, you know, because I had posted about it on Facebook, but, like, I think I found my artist that I'm working with now, Portland Ellis, and I just, I paid him, and he did the cover that's, like, all over the place now. And he just said,
yeah, that's a tough cover, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Portland did an amazing job. Like, I think she mentioned it. She said, hey, like, what's going on with that Harriet Tubman thing? And I said, oh, it's going to be a comic book series. And she said, cool. And then I just told her what happens in the first issue. And she just said, we need that book now.
Wow.
And I was like, what? He's like, no, you don't understand. Like, I need to see a woman kicking ass. And I need to see, like, a black woman kicking ass. Because, you know, right now, racist men feel bold and emboldened. And it's like a welcome thing that it's okay to be a racist piece of shit.
Wow.
And I'm like, Alex, you're right. And I thought about it, and I was like, we were on the phone like all night, like, cause we talked from like 2 a.m. to like 5 a.m. because we just could not believe. And I just remember it was raining. It rained all day, and I went to sleep for like maybe an hour, and I woke up, and I didn't have work that day, and I went to the store, and I went to, like, you know, I was depressed. I'm like, I'm going to buy some depressed food.
So he's going to get ice cream.
yeah. I went to go buy Oreos and, like, vanilla cream so I could dip the Oreos in there and shit. It was really bad. And, like, pineapple soda. It was really bad and wretched. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to buy some sugary, high carb food, and I'm going to watch, like, Luke Cage or some shit. So I did that, and I went to, like, this Walmart, and there was this long line. Like, there was a lot of white people at this Walmart that I was at, and there was a long line. I'm like, yeah, how come there's such a long line just to check out? And no one was going to one of the clerks. Her name was Priyanka, and she's a Muslim woman who had a hijab on. And hey, how come no one's going to her line? Is something wrong with her register? And all these white people were just like, no, nothing's wrong. We don't know if there's something's wrong with her register. And I said, okay, I'm going to go to her. And I went there, and she checked me out like normally, and I said, hey. And I left, and this older white man just kind of walked up to me and said, hey, man, you're braver than me. And I said, what? He says, I don't trust that lady. You know, you can never trust them. And I was like, are you serious? I'm like, did this just happen in front of me? And, like, I'm a black man, and he said this to me, and I'm like, what? I'm like, she's been working here for, like, 4 years. Do you think she's going to, like, explode now? And he says, yeah, man.
Right. You
gotta be careful.
Considering this is many years after 9/11 as well, correct?
Exactly. Yeah, this is 2016. So I'm like, I have to make this comic book, you know, because all this stuff, all this racism was now welcomed, and it was going to become normal. And it felt like he talked like it was normal. I'm like, no, this is being hateful should never be a normal thing. You should be, or if you are a racist, hateful person, you should be scared that you have those thoughts. So I'm like, I'm making this comic book. We're going to launch it on Kickstarter. And I was really terrified because I had seen a few Kickstarters fail. And I'm like, we have to do this. And I called Portland, and I said, we're doing this on Kickstarter. We're going to launch it. We're going to raise like $15,000. And he said, all right, cool. We're doing it. And that was that.
So just to kind of summarize in a nutshell, a fun idea in a retreat moment, so to speak. And I say retreat because you went away to just kind of gather yourself and relax and stuff, becomes an activist moment. Is this what I'm hearing?
Yeah. It became like, you know, a low-key activist moment. And you know, and at first when I created it wasn't like I'm going to make an activist. It was literally like, oh, like, this is a fun idea. And it was my own, like, selfish, like, thing of my own selfish, like, fun and a dream, you know, and just me having fun and being creative. And then it became bigger than me.
Right.
It became about something else because after I talked to Alex, I talked to a few other and mainly female friends who just said, like, I need to see this book, like banging on the table, like, I need to see this so you understand I need this.
You know, that's really interesting, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's really interesting that up until this point, because I'm about to ask you, majority of the people, women specifically, black women or brown women even more specifically, these are adults that needed to see this.
Yeah.
The irony is these are adult women that need this, right? So have you gotten any of these adult women or adult males speaking in regards to young girls need this as well? Any young people?
Yeah. I think there was this one teacher. She said, "Hey, I want to buy some for my class," and a lot of like young girls really liked the comic, and also like a lot of young boys like the book too. Like I think this even happened at I think last year, and also at Black Comic Fest at Schaumburg. There was a guy who was walking around and he was specifically buying comic books for his grandsons, and he was a little misogynistic, old school black man. He's like, I want like a comic book for my grandson so they can look up to like a man or something like that. and he was. You know, I didn't know this because I was kind of really focused on my own stuff.
Right.
I found later I was sharing a table with a brilliant artist named Stephen Harris.
Correct.
And and he told me, he's like, hey, like this guy who never buys any female-led comics, like just bought your comic. And I said, really? And he's like, yeah, he really related to the art, and he thought the art like looked cool. And then mainly what also has been happening over the course of a year, like I didn't expect this. You know, little girls were dressing up as my version of Harriet Tubman for Halloween, and like second graders. I mean, which kind of like, I don't know. I wasn't intending to make this for children. I kind of was making this for like teenagers and up, but these 8-year-old girls were like, I loved it when Harriet Tubman decapitated that vampire. I was like, and also I was wondering, I'm like, hey, so what's the difference, kids, between like, and like I was maybe shooting myself down a little bit. I'm like, oh, you know, well, you got Storm and you got, you know, the Dora Milaje and Black Panther and Shuri, and there's something like I was, you know, wondering what was about my thing. They said, oh, because she's like the lead character. Like your comic, like Storm is still like Storm in the X-Men.
Right.
But yours is like Harriet, it's like the title character. And I said, oh, okay, I never really thought of it like that, because even though it's Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer, I'm trying, it's like, you know, there's still a supporting cast of people that I'm trying to balance, and little girls really gravitate to it. Also, like little boys really like it too. Like there was one, I think I visited like a middle school, and like these girls are into like doing, they call it like revisionist history now, and they're like, yeah, it's because your comic book that inspired it, and I really like it. And I'm like, oh damn, I'm like, all right, cool. Awesome.
No, I mean, it's really so let's get into the story then, because you know, Harriet being a prominent figure in Black history, also being a hero that's relatable to the average person, right? So it just makes it more relatable. That's like your great-grandmother, your great-great-grandmother that's just kicking behind, you know? Yeah. So let's get into the story. So I have I have chapter 1.
Yeah.
Okay, and I read this. And so they're trying to make, I don't want to give too much away, right? So actually, before we get into the actual story, what my question is, what was the research like? Did you do it? Because I noticed the name, what is it, Edgefield?
Edgefield, yeah.
Right. So if I'm not mistaken, there is a town in South Carolina by that name that has a big historic connection to the government, the way things are done, and the Confederacy and all this kind of stuff that dates back to the 1700s. Did you intentionally use some of these things to kind of throw hints so people can research or have an understanding of the history behind the creativity?
Yeah, like when I was doing research, I looked up Edgefield and I looked up names of like actual slaves. And the Edgefields, I'm not sure if they're related, but I don't think it gave me, I think some of the manuscripts that I saw, they didn't give me like the ages of the people. And I think I looked up and I just really gravitated to Edgefield. And that's the name of the family you meet in the first issue. And I looked up like real slave names and the names of slaves, and there was Catherine and Caesar and Venus. And I think Caesar was the first one that I saw, and I'm like, oh, I really like that. Like, I like that name. And I'm like Caesar, and then I looked, and I think I saw someone's last name, and it was Edgefield. And I'm like, all right, like, I like that. Like, I'm going to make. I knew the supporting cast was going to be. At the time, it was just a father and the daughter. There was no mother yet.
Right.
And then I was doing research. I just looked up like basically like this was all like I googled like the names of slaves, and I was trying to find out like how marriage works and like do they separate families. And I just something about like, I'm like, no, I don't want, I want to show that though this is a terrible time, like someone was able to find love and fall in love and then have a child. And I wanted there to be a family dynamic. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have the mom be there. And she's going to be alive and well. Because usually, those are our stories. It's always like the single father or like the single mother, or those are our movies,
Right.
So I'm like,
right.
Yeah, I'm going to show that like this man, Caesar, he's married, and he gets along with his daughter, and his daughter makes fun of him like he's a girl dad, and she's a daddy's girl. So I'm going to show that. And it's a healthy. Even though like they're in a toxic environment, it is a healthy family that loves each other. And I want to show that. So, but first, like doing research on Harriet was really hard and difficult because I think that because she ran such a tight operation, there was so much that was kept secret, that wasn't documented. Like we don't know if this woman has children. Like no one knows. No one even knows her exact birth date. Because I think they didn't find out who she was as far as like leading slaves to freedom on the railroad. No one found out who she was until about 3-4 years until slavery was abolished. And then she was a fugitive, and she was considered the most dangerous woman, most dangerous person in America.
This is after emancipation.
Oh no, this is before. This is before.
Okay, no. So what I'm asking you, they found out who she was 3 years after slavery quote unquote ended, but during the time she was considered the most dangerous person. That's what I'm asking.
Oh, yeah. During the time, she was considered the most dangerous person. There was a $40,000 reward, like bounty, on her head. 45 would for today. That's still a lot of money, but for today, that's like $45 million.
That is true.
And so there was a bounty on her head. And I think someone, they found out who she was, and Harriet Tubman, 4'11", doesn't know how to read, Negro woman, and the crimes, stealing property, like that's how they looked at it, as property. And so the bounty was for $45,000. She's the most dangerous woman in America. And I'm like, my Barbie's like, yeah, that's gangster. But but yeah, there was a lot of, I had trouble finding, I really wanted to get in touch with her personality and how she relates to other people. And it was really difficult because so much was hidden. So like even in some of the books I read, they didn't really give me much about her personality. And like with me, when I'm writing, I gotta find something that makes the character quirky. It has to be something. And
so that's coming from a director and an actor, so I know where you're going with that.
Yeah. So I think I was really struggling. I had read like 2 different books, and I got like a little bit of a flavor, but it was kind of the same thing of how we see her in history. I was like, this is a dead serious person. And I'm like, all right, like I gotta get more. Like, there has to be more. I just need for nuance. And I think I was doing some research. I had like I think I was at my job, and I kind of was Googling stuff and reading some stories, and it was like 3 or 4 a.m. and I'm kind of like out of it. And I found this story about Harriet Tubman, and it was I think she's leading a family to freedom. And I think the father, one of the male slaves, started having a panic attack, and he started he started having a panic attack. And, this is 1850. He doesn't know he's having a panic attack. So he starts freaking out, and he's loud and crying. And he's like, I made a mistake. This is terrible. Like, my family, they gave us shoes, and they allowed my son to read. And, like, they allow us to sleep in the big house. Like, why are we escaping so we can go and, like, I think she was leading them to Canada so they can get jobs and get money.
Right.
So he starts having a panic attack, and Harriet Tubman just walks up to him, and someone got scared. Like, at the time, like, the rumor is, like, Harriet Tubman, if you're not going to mess up her operation, she will pull out a gun on you and shoot you and kill you. So people got scared because little Harriet Tubman walks up to this giant man, and she puts her hands on his shoulders and leans in and starts talking to him quietly, and like takes the time to like hear him and like listen to him. And she just starts talking to him, and she becomes really present with him. And then he started laughing, and like she told him a joke, and he started laughing, and then he calmed down, and then she talked to him some more. And this was like 15 minutes maybe. It probably felt like forever, but it was 15 minutes of just talking to this man. And I'm like, that's who she is. That's a hero. In the face of this crazy demonic monster called slavery and the stress and strain of leading 6 people, 4 adults and 2 children to freedom. And you have the time to like have like a empathetic, motherly presence in the face of all of that.
Right, and to show compassion in a very intense moment.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's how I'm going to write her. I'm going to write her kind of in a way that I imagine Superman. Like Superman, no matter what, he is in control of every situation. And
that is true.
Of whatever, he is still going to maintain a calm demeanor. And when Superman fights you, he's fighting you. He's not like Batman who's trying to break your bones. Like Superman's trying to like save you in a weird way.
No, I understand what you mean. The difference between compassion and empathy and then someone who's more psychotic, right? Or a sociopath, because Batman like has many levels of mental health issues.
Oh yeah. I'm like, yo, if I have money, like, I'm like, yo, just invest. I mean, I understand there's like corruption and stuff. I was talking about this with a friend of mine. Like, she was like, yo, Bruce Wayne has money. Why can't he just give money? I'm like, yeah, he does that, but like, there's still mob bosses and corrupt politicians and stuff. Like, I think in the comics, and this is why some people want to move out of Gotham, because there's a crazy clown running around killing people. So I think Bruce Wayne paid for the rent, or like he made the rent like really cheap or something like that, and he bought out a bunch of towns and just made the rent like really cheap. But yeah, like there's like. Yeah, Batman's like a much more like aggressive, violent thing, you know. And Superman's like calm, and it's coming from a loving, and there's no cynicism or resignation, and also like being that, and also just because, and this kind of relates to Harriet Tubman, and not kind of, it does relate to Harriet Tubman, you know, being that strong and being that powerful. You're almost like almost like a god walking amongst men, or like a different perspective is she's an adult walking amongst children. So that absolute power kind of absolves her from selfishness or cynicism. And, you know, the real Harriet Tubman, you know, she had a vision, and she claimed that God prophesied to her that she was going to lead slaves to freedom. So this was kind of a spiritual, this was a calling, and she felt empowered and strengthened by God to do that. So like that was like her superpower.
Right. So now, first, what age is Harriet in the time of this comic book? Because just what age? Because she's very agile. She, you know, she's walking on branches. But then, if you watch like Daredevil, the little Asian lady, I can't think of her name, was able to do the same thing Harriet was doing, but she's like 2,000 years old. What age do we have Harriet?
Well, my Harriet is in her mid-30s.
Okay.
In the comics, and she's been active for about 7 years. Yeah, she's in year 7 of leading slaves to freedom and fighting demons and vampires and werewolves.
Outside of the movie you spoke about, does any of the demons and demonic entities correlate with any of the Southern Black and any other Black belief of conjuring and things of this nature?
I don't want to spoil it, but yeah.
Got you. All right. So don't go too much into it, because we want the people to read it. But if you can give us a little bit of information.
Well, like a lot of it, I kind of put the American, you know, the classic American stuff that we've seen. I think a lot of stuff I took from Anne Rice as far as vampires and the different interpretations of like goblins and the boogeyman, and there's a little bit of like a voodoo thing that's introduced in issue 4, what we're working on right now. And there's there were Black people who practiced witchcraft.
That is true.
And like, we're going to see some of that, and we're going to see like a little bit of like voodoo stuff in issue 4, and that'll be that.
All right. Well, let me ask you, what was, and I think I already know this answer based on what you shared with us, but I haven't asked you this specifically. What was the most interesting thing you found in your research to put this together?
the thing I just told you about Harriet Tubman maintaining a sense of humor.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, and just being resourceful and you know, someone like me, if someone found out that I like if it was me and there was a bounty on the head and like people were looking for me, like I think her family members, like I think her parents were saying, "Hey, you take a break. You can't be doing this anymore."
Right.
They're like, "This is dangerous." She's like, "No, I gotta talk to these people and keep leading them to freedom." And we just said, like, "You're crazy. You're nuts." You know, like I probably would have. I'm like, "Mom, maybe you're right. let me chill out and just relax until this dies down. Let me let Abraham Lincoln work this out." But she was like, "No," because again, and first I'm like, "Well, we don't know that there's going to be a happy ending. We don't know that Abraham Lincoln. We don't know about the world." We like because this might have been going on forever.
That is also
like, from our perspective, there's a very real reality that it's this might have been going on for another 100 years.
So let me ask you.
Go ahead.
In regards to the actual physical comic, and going to a lot of these Comic-Cons and Black comic festivals, what other achievements and accolades have you received, felt, or what have you from this comic book?
I don't know. I think I haven't won any awards or anything. I haven't. I think. Oh man! I should submit, or I think a good friend of mine, he's also an amazing creator, Greg Anderson Ellisay, a Haitian comic creator. He writes that it's not a comic and modern stuff. He sent me a thing where you can submit your work. If you're a creator, you can submit your work, I think, for the Glyph Awards. And I was like, cool, thank you. And then I just got really busy and overwhelmed because, when you're doing comics, you have to be on top of it. And people might want, I might get an inbox of an order, and I have to make sure everything comes out correct and everything is shipped on time. And then also taking the time to write the comic. But yeah, I haven't received any best new comic book award. I've been too busy trying to make the damn comic and make it good and make sure it's enjoyable and looks good. So I mean, if I end up one day getting nominated or something, I will be very happy and proud. But I think the biggest thing I've had accolades, I think Sci-Fi Wire, Karama Horn, she did a review and a piece on the comic, and I thought it was a big little place to be. So I think that's that. And Afro Punk did a review and gave it a good review. So I'm like cool. Actually, one of the biggest accolades is oh man, I'm forgetting the name. Black Nerd Problem. They did a review of the comic and they gave it five I think clapbacks out of 5 or something, or 5 hairpins. They have a way of reviewing stuff. I thought that was cool, but
no, that's very cool. So besides, which is very important, continuing to work on it to make sure you're delivering quality comic books, do you have any future plans of making it a movie, a cartoon, anything like this? Any dolls?
I have ideas. That's all I will say on that.
Oh, God, I hear you.
I have ideas, and maybe some people who are, interested and think it's cool. But yes, I have ideas, and we will see. Like maybe you'll hear something, an announcement or something.
I definitely will. Let me know.
I'll let you know.
So, well, I mean, I'm really happy you took the time to talk to us about this wonderful comic book. I think it's very exciting. I'm happy to see heavily melanated people on comic books in such a large number. I was really excited at the festival. Where can the listeners find you and order?
Yeah, if you want to order the comic, if you want a digital copy, right now it's on Comixology, and I think you want a physical copy. It's not on Amazon yet, but in the meantime, you can just inbox me, and I'll have the book shipped to you. And I think where else? Yeah, soon it'll be on Amazon. Soon it'll be it's on peepgamecomics.com, which is a Black-owned site. It's a few comic book stores as well, like Mahogany Books and Forbidden Planet, which just sold out of it recently. And
my goodness, my mother, when I was a little guy, what she used to do, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you just brought back a great memory of my mother, the matriarch. When I was a little guy, that was my reward at the end of the week for doing good in school, a trip to Forbidden Planet. That tells you how long that's been around.
Oh, wow. Yeah, like, it's a great comic book store, and, like, they sell out really, they sell out my book fast. I'm extremely grateful, to have that.
Man, so what about your social media handles and things of this nature so people could keep up with your movements and journey?
Yes, you can find me at dcrownson on Instagram. And if you want to follow the comic book on Instagram, it's Harriet Tubman _Demon Slayer. That's for Instagram. Again, you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at dcrownson. Don't follow me on Facebook because I think I've reached the quota on Facebook, apparently. You can't have this many friends or some shit. But you can follow Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer on Facebook. There's a fan page. You can like it and follow us there as well.
Okay, so let me ask you this one last question. For you personally, considering the conversation you had with a friend, well, several friends at that, and then the experience you had at the Walmart, for you personally, how is the journey and how satisfying is it for you to get this, I call it Black folklore or folktale only because of the creative aspect of the narrative, to be part of African-American folklore and folktale. How does this feel to you?
Well, I am. It still hasn't said because it's like a fun, weird thing. But I'm super grateful, Which is, again, this was like a goofy idea that was in my head at like 2 a.m. in West Africa, in like my extremely hot room be something that's your right thing, and I wasn't actually make this so I can with the intention. I mean, I'm grateful that it's sold out, and there's been a little bit of like residual take back, but this was I just made this because I thought it was fun. I thought it was cool, and then after election stuff and kind of it being a bigger thing that kind of gave it more substance because now this felt more of a responsibility in a good way. Yeah, like man, like it's unreal. Like when I hear like I think at Forbidden Planet and they bought like I think like $2 worth of comics, and I was like, wow, and I was like, cool. And I go about my business, my other job is also taking the time to write the comic as well. And then I like an inbox message from someone that said, hey, I rushed to Forbidden Planet, and your book sold out. And I'm like, oh, okay, they haven't gone there yet. I said, hey, man, I just dropped off a whole bunch of comics last week. They have some. And they're like, no, they don't. They've completely sold out. And I'm like, oh, snap.
Wow.
That's a pretty cool feeling. That many people want your book that badly, and it's in demand. And, it puts a little bit of pressure on you to be on top of it. But, yeah, I'm just grateful. It's mainly gratitude. All I have is gratitude, and love that people love something that I, spent some time quietly by myself working on and having fun doing. And just gratitude.
No, I hear you, man. Well, we thank you. Keep up the great work. And when you get to your next monumental moment, please reach out so we can interview you so you can announce it.
Oh, of course, man. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. When it's published, all your information will be linked.
Awesome. Yeah. Publish it and reach out, and I'll ship whatever you want. The book will be, if you're in New York, you can go to Forbidden Planet. It's sold out now, but by the time this is out, it'll be at Forbidden Planet.
Groovy. All right, good people. You've been bluesing and cruising and talking on Jack Dappa Blues with David Crownson about a great, I want to say new, but it's not necessarily new. It's new to you all, Harriet Tubman, Demon Slayer comic book. Make sure you get your hands on this thing, and we're going to wrap with y'all real soon.